It's time for Recipe of the Day. I am delighted with this recipe. It is ground turkey pasta in like a creamy rosé sort of sauce with bits of tomato, lots of really good seasoning, and then some fresh basil scattered on top. It is really easy to make, really delicious. So you're starting by cooking 12 ounces of penne pasta according to the package instructions. If you have a 16-ounce box, a full pound, and you want to cook that up, go ahead. You're just going to add a little bit more tomato paste and a little bit more cream and a little bit more of the pasta cooking water possibly. So I'm not going to bring this up again, but just keep it in mind. If you're thinking I want to do 16 ounces, you're going to have to make those adjustments. And in the recipe that I link to in the blog post above the recipe, it tells you what to do there as well. So if you want to go and get the information on what to do if you have 16 ounces, go and find that out. Or just add those few little splashes of extra in, like I said. Okay, so you're cooking that pasta according to the pasta directions, but you are remembering that before you drain the pasta, you need to scoop out a half cup of the cooking water. Why do we do that when we're making pasta? That cooking water is seasoned with salt. Of course, it has nice seasoning, but it also has a lot of the starch from the pasta, which then can add like a lusciousness to the pasta dish in the end. If it's too thick, the sauce is like thick and gummy. You add some of that pasta water and it's beautiful. If you forget to add the pasta water, you can use some hot water seasoned with a little bit of salt. That's going to be great, but I have a tip so that you don't forget. What you do is when you're reading a recipe that says reserve a cup of the cooking water before draining, right when you start cooking that pasta, right when it goes into the pot, get out your colander, put it in the sink where you're planning to drain your pasta, and put your measuring cup inside the colander. That way, when you go to drain your pasta into the colander, you see the measuring cup, you stop, put the pot back on the stove, scoop out your pasta water, and then proceed with the draining. You see what I mean? Okay, so you're cooking the pasta according to the package directions, and you are putting a colander with a measuring cup in your sink so that you remember to scoop out a half a cup of the cooking water later. Then, while that is cooking, you're going to get the sauce ready. Heat 1 tablespoon of cooking oil in a large saucepan or skillet over medium-high heat. The oil can be olive oil, grapeseed oil, avocado oil, vegetable oil, whatever you like. Once it is hot, you're adding 1.5 pounds of ground turkey. If your package was just 1 pound, that's fine. If your package was 1 1/3 pounds, that's fine. It's not going to make a huge difference. Use a wooden spoon to break up that turkey in the skillet. Sprinkle it with a teaspoon of salt and a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Give it a little stir and then cook it undisturbed for 4 minutes. We want to get a little caramelization on the bottom. That stops kind of the sponginess from ground turkey, but we don't want to overcook it because then it's going to dry out. Of course, in this case, we have a nice sauce, so the drying out issue isn't as bad, but that sponginess still is. So try and get a nice crust on the bottom, a good 4 minutes, then start flipping and breaking it up as you stir it, and then you're adding in a medium onion that you've chopped up and 2 cloves of garlic that are minced, along with a half teaspoon of Italian seasoning. You can use store-bought Italian seasoning, or I am linking to my homemade Italian seasoning recipe for you, or use a 1/4 teaspoon of dry oregano and a 1/4 teaspoon of dry basil. That's going to work. Cook that until the onion is softened, 3 to 4 minutes. Then stir in a tablespoon of tomato paste and a 14-ounce can of diced tomatoes. I prefer the petite diced tomatoes just because they're smaller pieces, so they spread out more in this sauce, but whatever kind is going to be fine. Stir that well, and then add in a 1/4 cup of heavy cream. You can instead use half and half, but don't use milk. You need the higher fat content here to prevent the sauce from curdling. The higher fat does that. Milk is going to curdle from all that tomato acidity going on. Stir and cook that sauce that now has the cream in it for 30 seconds, then reduce the heat down to low and stir in 3 ounces of shredded Parmesan cheese. That's about 1 1/4 cups. Okay, by now you have probably drained that pasta and reserved your pasta water. Here's what I'm going to say. So many recipes tell you to take your pasta and add it to your skillet of sauce. And I've done this a bazillion times, and every time I end up frustrated because there's not enough room in my skillet for all of that pasta. I don't know why recipes say to do that all the time. Instead, what you're going to do is you're going to take the pasta from your colander and put it back into the pot that it was cooking in, which is probably a nice big pot, right? So if you're drained pasta in your dry pot that is bigger, and then use a spatula to scrape all your sauce on top of that pasta in the pot. Now you have way more room to stir it. Give it a nice stir, and then you want to drizzle in a little bit of that reserved pasta cooking liquid if you want to. If you feel like the sauce is too thick, it's not coating the noodles well, then that's when you add a little bit of that cooking liquid, about 2 to 3 tablespoons at a time. Stir, add more if you need. And then I really like to tear up some basil leaves right on top of that and stir it in. They wilt. They're not going to look as pretty, but they add that basil flavor throughout. Or you can put this onto your dinner plates and then garnish each serving with the fresh basil, or skip the fresh basil. Whatever you do, think about adding a little bit of grated Parmesan cheese on top for garnish and for that extra bit of flavor, and maybe some cracked black pepper too. Okay, I'll put the link to this recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there. Everything there is arranged by date, so it's helpful to know that today is May 14th of 2025. Also, if you haven't already, make sure that you're subscribed to this podcast. The easiest way to do that is to go on your phone to cookthestory.com/ROTD, and there you'll see some of the buttons across the top for places that you can subscribe, like Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or go on your phone to your favorite podcast app and search there for Recipe of the Day. Then you hit subscribe or follow, and then every single day you will get a new episode of Recipe of the Day. I'm Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, the all-new chicken cookbook, and from this podcast, Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.